This conference will now be recorded.
You can able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
I think you remember the last example that we had discussed.
Actually, I went through that example.
Okay.
And basically, the first 70%, I think I like how to say, the first part I understand it clearly, but
Okay.
the second part I'm not following it. Even I how to say, I put this code to my Eclipse, and I cannot. I think I don't know, there missed something, or like I cannot run it even also at my side. Yeah,
Okay,
but
you cannot this code.
yeah, I cannot run it and execute. And yes, and yeah, basically I have some questions, I think, but because I haven't reviewed all the previous course, so maybe after that I can understand it well. So, but for now, I could the first part I got it clearly, but second part I cannot follow it.
Okay. I'll explain that. So we'll see that after my explanation, you just go try and
Sure.
execute.
Yeah,
If you face any
and I don't think we can execute. Also, I think there's maybe something missed, because I copied your whole code. I cannot run I cannot run it.
okay, I have sent you in a WhatsApp only, right?
Yeah. You sent me, and I copied the whole thing, whole code, and I don't know what happened.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, sure.
So what it is showing me any error? What it is showing?
No, basically there is no error, and but like if I run as, like, there should be an option run as Java, right, application. But
Yes. So
in my case, there is no Java.
I understood. What the problem here is nothing but you are not running it in a main method. So I have written a rail ticket, right? So in this rail ticket, what happened? You copied the whole code, but for example, if you see this rail ticket has two classes. One is rail ticket, and one more is nothing but thread example. So this is a thread example that I have created under this package in this class itself, right? So this thread exe has a main method. If you see this rail ticket is not having a main method. So for example, in this case, if I am trying to run this rail ticket method, it will not show that run as a Java application, because you cannot run a method without the Java application. You see there is no run as Java application, right? So, but you can run this thread example where you have a main method. So you can run the classes only where you have a main method, right? So because your JVM will find only the main method, right? So your compiler will find only the main method. So you can run only this application. So this application will call your rail ticket application. I think this is the mistake that you are doing. You got my point, Mike?
Yes. But even I can run it now. But even like that, there are two enter the name. Seems a little bit weird, right? You see,
Sorry?
at the first, if I run from thread ex, and I got enter the name twice, it should be once, right?
That is your multi-threading, right? I have not explained this flow to you, so then you get the clarity. Okay, try to terminate the program. Now you can able to run it, right? You got clarified what is that?
Yeah.
What is
Now,
the
yes,
that
yes, I got you. I should run from the thread ex, which contains
yes,
the main method.
yes.
But but even with that, I mean, we can run it. So it's good. But the thing is, if I run from it, I should get enter the name only once. But it's like we get two lines of enter the name.
That is what asynchronous call, right? That is nothing but your sorry, that is nothing but your threads, right? So enter the name or nothing but, so you have two threads. So that's the reason you are getting enter the name two times. So I'll explain this again, this flow, then you get the clarity why it is coming as
We have two
threads. If you see,
Okay.
you
Yeah. I agree. We have two. Okay.
passenger one is one of the thread and passenger two is.
Uh,
So you have,
okay.
and there is only one object, and these two threads are acting on this object, your book ticket object, book ticket method. So that's the reason it is coming
Uh,
as two.
I see. But even like that, like Suya, in a real application, we should not show the end user
That's
with
what.
two, right? It
That's
will
what.
confuse.
For that only we use synchronized thing, concept. So I'll
Oh,
explain it. After that you get.
okay. Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Try
okay.
to terminate the program or enter all the details. Try to enter the two times name, and so don't be keep in that mode, because what happens, your Eclipse will be little slow. So once you started the program, at least you need to end it. You have to end it, right? So once you
Mm.
enter the name, it will ask for enter the book tickets. Enter the book tickets for two times. After that, it will show available tickets 0, available tickets -2, something like that. So you can see it my screen. So this is nothing but end of the program. It comes like this. I think it came for you also, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Yes. Give me 1 minute, Mike.
Yeah, sure.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So you ended that program, right?
Yes. I got available tickets 0, available tickets -2.
Okay. So you understood this application. Actually, here what we are having, we have one rail ticket, and we have two threads. So I hope you have not forgotten the thread concepts, because it is long, right? I think what is a thread, and I think you hope you have.
Yeah. Yes, thread. I have no issue with the concept. Just for this one, is a little bit program is
Uh,
a
be-
little bit tricky for me.
because we got lot more time, so it's like we are not having class from longer time, right? So that's the reason, right? So here we have what we have one object. What is nothing but the rail ticket. So this is nothing but my one object. And here, how many threads you have? You have two threads.
Okay, object rail ticket. Okay. Yes, that's the object. Okay.
Here you have two tickets. So that tickets are nothing but your two threads, I can say. Okay. You have T1 thread which is of passenger 1, right? Passenger 1, you have one more thread that is nothing but your P2, that is nothing but your passenger 2, right? And what happened? These two threads are acting on this object simultaneously. I think you know what is the meaning of simultaneous, right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
so this person is trying to book the tickets, and as well as this person is trying to book the ticket. So here, how many tickets are available? Assume that here only 2 tickets are available, and how many tickets he is trying to book? He is trying to book 2 tickets. And how many tickets he is trying to book? He is trying to book 1 ticket, right? So general scenario, if what is my output should be, for example, if he booked the two tickets, and if he is trying to book another ticket, what should happen for this passenger 2? It should show the tickets are already sold out. But here, what I'm doing in this application is nothing but, so you see, when this is nothing but in a real time, when you do, that is what happens, right? So that why? Because in a real time of applications, assume that there is a synchronization is there. So what is the meaning of synchronization? Whenever thread 1 is acting on this object, what happens? Your thread 2 will be in a waiting state. It will not act on this object. So how it can be achieved? By having a concept called synchronized. I think even I told you how that synchronized concept can be achieved, because whenever for a method, if you write a keyword called synchronized, what happens? That thread requires the object level lock, and it will take that object level lock, and what happens? It will start executing that method. So, and what happens whenever the thread 2 want to execute that particular method? What happens? That thread 2 will be in a waiting state. It cannot act on that method because already thread 1 is acting on it, and it has a lock. So that lock should be required for the thread 2. So which was already holding by your thread 1, so it cannot release it. So in this way, your synchronization is achieved. I think this part is clear, right, for you?
Yes. Mm.
Because I'm recalling all this because it's very important to understand that whole flow with this. So if you are little confused with this, it again mess up with everything. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So now if you are having uh, these two things, right? So in case of synchronization, you see whatever you told, you asked me the question, right? Why your name coming as 2 times? So it should not happen, right? So why it is happening? Because here there is no synchronization. When there is no synchronization, so what happens in this rail ticket method, in this rail ticket object, you have a method called book ticket, and in that book ticket you return a code to book the tickets. Like in whenever you're trying to book the tickets, you'll ask for the name, you'll ask for, so the details was written. So for example, this passenger is executing that code, so this thread is executing that code. So if this thread 2 is in the waiting state, that part of so that will not come to you, right? What happens? Your enter the name will come only once. So why here, why it is coming as 2 times? Because two people are trying to execute that code simultaneously. So that's the reason it is coming for 2 times. You got why it is coming 2 times?
Yes.
So if you see, this is nothing but my book ticket method.
Because
So
it's not a synchronized.
yes, it's not synchronized. Exactly. It's
Yeah,
not
I got now I'm clear. Yeah.
So two persons are trying to execute it. So that's the
Mm.
reason it's coming as 2 times, right? So if you see this book ticket method, what I have written in this, so I'm just writing enter the name of the person, and I think you know what is a scanner class, and I
Yes.
have taken scanner class, and I'm reading the name of the person, and what I'm doing, I'm entering the number of tickets for that, right? And I'm just storing it in a tickets variable, right? So So how I need to proceed for the tickets? Before proceeding for the booking the tickets, what I need to check whether the number of tickets were available in the system or not. I need to check it, right? So for that, as you might, I'm just hard coding a total number of tickets that are available in the railway system, and I'm just hard coding with that two value. Simple. It's for our understanding. So what, for example, if the first person is entering the two tickets, right? So he entered the two tickets. Yes, two is less than or equals to total number of tickets. Yes, this condition gets satisfied. So what happens? It goes to your if condition, and what happens? The thread one will execute. So for example, your for passenger one, the ticket booking was happened, right? And what happens? After this, what happening, I'm making that passenger one to go to the waiting state, right? So this is a concept of asynchronization. So whenever the passenger one is in waiting state, obviously what happens, your passenger two will start executing it. So he's my passenger two, so this is my passenger two will, my second thread will start executing my tickets. So again it will come.
Yeah,
So
sorry. Here, I think the try, like also I can see from my side, the try catch
yes,
is just exception handling, right? What I
yes,
remember.
yes, yes,
Uh,
exactly.
so it's I think I mean it's not I think it's not like a synchronization. So yeah, that's my point, because I think this is only just to handle if like you. I
Yes,
think
yes.
the purpose for try catch here is if you enter something wrong, it will throw like exception for you. I
Not
mean,
like enter the wrong, enter the wrong. If you see where I'm getting this try catch is nothing but at line number 18. So you remembered what is checked and unchecked. We have discussed in the last
yes,
session.
yes, yes, I know.
So this sleep, whenever you are trying to make in a multi-threading, we have seen a sleep method, right? What is the meaning of sleep method? So that particular thread,
To
the
wait,
correct
yeah.
waiting
Mm.
state, will go to the waiting state, right? So whenever the thread is in waiting state, there is a chance of getting interruptions to that thread. So for example, if I made a thread to wait state for 1000 milliseconds or 10,000 milliseconds, right? So what happens? The thread should be in a waiting state for the 10,000 milliseconds. So that is a proper execution. But for example, the thread may start or thread may have some interruptions, right? So internally that is assumption, right? So if that there is some interruptions to that thread, so there is a chance of getting interrupted exception. So for that reason, we are handling this interruption exception. That is also a checked exception. How you write IO streams? When I'm trying to write an IO streams, if the file is not there, whatever the data that you are reading, and if the you get IO exception, right? So similarly, there is something like interrupted exception that we are just check handling with try and catch. Why we are handling with try and catch is nothing but this interrupted exception is also a checked exception. So if you don't, so what are the two ways to handle? I can write throws or I can able to write try or catch. That's the point is there, right? So that's why we are just writing with a try or catch. If I don't write try or catch, that particular part of the code will show me in a compile time error. If you see here, it will show me a compile time. So you can see there is a compile time error. What is that error state?
So
Unhandled.
so here the try and catch is when if during the sleep if there is any interruption by another thread, we will handle it, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
We will
So
handle it.
you can, it's not required
Not
you to write.
we, like the program will handle it.
Yes. So I can write even throws. So
Mm.
whenever I write throws, it is not required you to write.
I see. Okay.
So that's what we discussed in the class.
So so here basically so here basically when the first thread run, after the run here, it will so it will sleep for some time, right? The thread execute
That's
here
what. Yes, yes. So while executing, we are just making that thread is supposed to sleep.
to go to sleep for 10,000 milliseconds.
Yes, yes.
I see. If during this sleep it interrupted by another thread, we will handle that exception.
Yes.
Oh, even Oh, even this code is not so much. It's still there are a lot of things. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I have written, if you see, if I remove this, as I told you, right, everything is interlinked. So for example, when you have some confusions in exception handling, that this gets stripped out here, right?
Yeah.
So for
Yeah,
example,
yeah, yeah.
here what you are doing, you are writing throws interrupted exception, right? So from where this book ticket methods are getting called, it is getting called from run method. So that's the reason here it will ask for try and catch. Here I can write try and catch, or what I can do, I can write throws also here. So I think, okay, this is the uh, thread class thing, right? I think I cannot able to write throws because even when you write exceptions with the overridden method also there is some rules. We'll discuss that later. I think you cannot write throws here. Why? Because this is not my method. This is the method that is present in the thread class that we have overridden. So
Yeah.
that should have an exception.
Mm.
So for exceptions, you have that kind of rules also. So I cannot here write throws. I can write try catch. So why I'm writing try catch here? Because I'm not handling that exception here in this method. So this got called from your run method. Book ticket, if you see book ticket method, so we have a book ticket method. So in this book ticket method, so this is a book ticket method. So in this book ticket method, there is an exception. So you are not handling this exception. What you are doing, you are just delegating this exception or throwing this exception to the caller. So who is my caller? The run method is my caller. So in that run method, I am just handling it. Okay, fine. So what happens? I'm just making the thread to go to the waiting state. So whenever the thread goes to the waiting state, what happens? The second thread will start executing. So in this case, what happened? The first, for you, the enter the name came for 2 times. But my assumption I'm taking, your enter the name comes for 1 time. You don't guarantee, right? So it is a multi-threading. You cannot guarantee. But I'm explaining in a scenario, right? One thread is started executing and it went to the sleep state, and again second thread came to the picture. So I'm explaining in that scenario, right? So there is a second thread came to the picture and you enter the name, you enter the number of tickets. So what happens for the first thread? How many tickets that user has booked? The first person has booked 2 tickets, right? So and he went to the waiting state. So he went to the waiting state, and whether whatever the tickets that he has booked, which has not been minused from the total number of tickets, right? So whatever the total number of tickets you have total number of tickets are 2, right? The first passenger booked 2 tickets, right? So after booking 2 tickets, what happened? The passenger went to the waiting state. Now what happened? The second thread started executing. So here itself he went to the waiting state. So in the sleep state, it's nothing but he first passenger went to the waiting state here itself, right? So it means we didn't minus it from the total number of tickets. The first passenger booked 2 tickets. So what should happen? This line should be executed. So if this line gets executed, what happens? Your total number of tickets would have become 0. But before executing this line, what happened? The first passenger went to the waiting state, right? Now what happened? The second passenger started executing. So here, when it comes, for example, for the second passenger, you entered the number of tickets are 1. So here, what is this 1? So this 1 will be less than the total number of tickets? Yes, 2. Why? Because it is why the total number of tickets are still 2, because this minus operation has not been done by the first thread, right? You are understanding me, right?
Mm.
So that's the reason you are able to again book the tickets for the second thread also, right? So how many tickets that first thread got booked? The first thread got booked 2 tickets, right?
Mm. Mm.
So now whenever the first thread booked 2 tickets, what happened? That total number of tickets got over, but still the minus operation was not done. So whenever the second thread started, if the thread I'm talking or a passenger, whatever the terminology that he use, it will be the same, right? So whenever second passenger started executing, what happened? The book tickets has been done by that user, and assume that the second thread also went to the waiting state. So whenever the second thread went to the waiting state, what happens? It will start executing the first thread. So from where it has to, from where the first thread will start executing from the 19th line. So we commented it, okay? So here from this method it will start. So here, what is the total tickets now? What is the total tickets value now? In this case, it is 2, right? So 2 minus whatever the number of tickets that he booked 2 tickets. So now what happens to the total tickets? Now the total tickets becomes 0. Now what happens? The second thread which went to the sleeping state again will come and again will execute this line. So whenever it is executing this line, what is the total number of tickets here? Total number of tickets are 0 because it got minused from the first thread. So now 0 minus whatever the number of tickets that he booked, 1. So 0 minus 1, so minus 1. So now what is the available tickets will be printed for the second thread? It will be minus 1. It should not happen. So this is nothing but your asynchronization. So I'll execute this and you get more clarity on this. So for this, how I written, I think you are clear. So I've taken a thread exe and extends this thread and have taken a constructor called thread exe constructor. In this constructor, we have a rail ticket and we have a method called run method. In this run method, what I'm doing, I'm calling a book ticket methods. So we have book ticket method. I'm calling this book ticket method. So you can go from the main method if you got confused. We have created a rail ticket object, and as I told you, right, we have one object and 2 threads. So passenger 1 is my one thread and passenger 2 is one thread. So I'm creating passenger 1 thread. So while creating the passenger 1 thread, what I'm passing? I'm passing the object as a reference. So what it will call the constructor. Which constructor it will call? Thread exe one parameterized constructor with object of rail ticket it will call. So this is nothing but the constructor it gets called while creating an object. So at this point of time, so whenever you create this object, which one will get called? This is going to get called, right? So in this ticket, in this what you have a rail ticket object, right? So that local variable where you are assigning into the global variable that your rail reference. Now what happened? So this is nothing but you are executing. Whenever you call passenger one dot start method, what happens? Your start method gets executed. So I can do like this also, no issues. You can create a passenger and start that method. So start that thread. So what I'm doing in the second scenario also, I am creating the passenger 2 and calling the start. So what happens? Again the same scenario. We'll have a rail ticket. So this will be passed over here. This will have an object reference. So for example, when you call a start method, you know what happens. So I have created a passenger and passed this. So I have done with the local given. So you have a rail ticket reference which will have a rail ticket object, right? So this is nothing but a reference which has this object.
Yeah, sorry. Here I don't get basically the 35, the line
Okay.
35.
Okay.
So here, what do you mean? You mean this line is what's this? Like a rail ticket is the object, right? The object you
Yes.
and then you put a rail. What's this? The rail is
This one.
yeah. What's this?
So it's like simple. So for example, when you want to assign a so you will be telling it. So whenever you do some primitive types, you can similarly compare for the objective types. Assume you have a class A, right? You have a constructor called A here, right? I have a something like string name, right? So while creating this object, I think you have remembered the constructors concept, right? So what is the
Yes.
string name? This is nothing but my non-static variable, right?
Mm.
So for this string name, I want to give some value while creating an object. So how I'll give? So this is the way I'm creating an object. So while creating an object, I want to give some value to this string name, this name, right? This is the name that for this name, I have to give value. How I'll give? A equals to new, and I'll pass new, and what I'll do, I'll create a parameterized constructor. In that parameterized constructor, I'll give a name called Ravi. All right. So this is
Mm.
a name. What I'm doing, I'm passing to the parameterized constructor. What happens here? I need to have a string, some
Mm.
num, right? So what
Mm.
happens when I do a dot Ravi? This what we'll call it will call this parameterized constructor, and this num will have what? Ravi, right? Now
Mm.
this Ravi, what I want to assign, where I want to assign it, I want to assign it to the instance variable. So how I will do that instance variable assigning name that that this instance variable is equals to what? Num. What is this num? The Ravi that you passed. Is it clear? This is what the how you do with the constructor. Right now, your name will have what? It is going to have the value called Ravi. Is this the constructor concepts, right?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
You are having any doubts in this? No, right? This is a simple
Uh,
concept.
yeah. But I don't know. Like because for me, the constructor. I think for the when I use constructor, I don't use this way like normally. Like constructor concept. What I remember is like when you create a object, you will call that constructor. Yeah, but
No,
in the construct. Yeah, and
no.
also for uh,
I have told you parameterized constructor. I have told you two parameterized constructor.
yes,
Please
yes,
go.
yes. That's what you told me. Yes, I remember that.
Yes.
Yes.
Even
Uh,
I told you with the creation of this also.
yes,
Parameterized.
I think so. Yes.
Yes, I have taken some int variable instead of that. Some ID I have taken. ID I have taken. I'm passing string. Here I'm passing an ID. So if I the local variable name and instance variable names are same, what I'll use this dot ID equals to ID. I'm passing string here. So
Mm.
for example, I'm just passing if I want to pass an ID value. I'll do like this. I will be telling this example. Without this, I'll not reconstruct this. So, okay, you understood this, what I'm telling you?
Yeah. Yes.
So you have an instance variable. For that instance variable, this is nothing but an ID, right? So assume that you have an I here, or you have I here. So your ID is what? Your ID is nothing but your instance variable. What is I? Your I is nothing but your local variable, right?
Mm.
So for example, when you create an object, what is the ID value? It will be 0. But what I want while creating an object, I want that ID value to be some 2. What I'll do? I'll creating an object, I'll pass that 2 value, right? So
Yeah.
what
Mm.
I'm passing an int. So I have which constructor? I have parameterized constructors with what type? Int. So which we will call whenever I create an object with parameterized constructor, it will call parameterized constructor of type. What is the type here? Int. So it will call which constructor? It will call int, right? So what is this I value here? The I value is 2, and that I value 2 where I'm giving it to the instance variable of I. Is it right?
Yes. Yes.
For
Yes.
example, I have like this. What we
Yes.
have
Yes.
to
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So now you are using string.
so then what I how if I want to call this
Mm.
constructor, how I need to create an object? I need to create an object like this, right?
Yeah, yes.
So some string. So it will call which constructor? String constructor. If I
Yeah.
create an object with like this, which will call which constructor? It is going to call your int constructor, right?
Mm, mm,
So whenever your local name and variable names are same, instance variable names are same, what you use this. I think you remembered this dot
yeah.
id.
Yeah.
So this concept also you are agreed, right?
Yeah. Mm,
So here instead of string, what we have here, we have an object. Class A has
mm.
an object. Instead of what we have this string, similarly you have an object called rail ticket. So for a string you have an id, right? So for an int you have an id which will hold what? Which will hold the variable name. So similarly when you are creating an object, you need to have a reference variable which will hold the address of the object, right? So similarly I'm declaring that address of the object. How I'm declared string int.id, string.name. What I'm doing, I'm taking a class name dot a reference variable which will hold the address of that object. Is this fine, right?
Oh, this one I see. That's why I think I don't know, like because I think this is first time we use like this. That's why
Okay, okay.
yeah, I
But the
never see
concept
this
is
like so I
uh,
don't know. That's why I
the
don't understand.
the concept
Yeah.
uh, how you pass the primitive value. Similarly, you can pass the secondary value.
So here so this is a real ticket is the class
Yes,
name, right?
yes, yes, class name.
So
So
now what you do real ticket real. So just for this, what you do you so you use real to reference the object. That's what you say you want to do.
yes, yes. So for example, when you have an int here for this constructor, what I done, I
Mm.
passed hint. So here, what I need to pass, I need to pass a rail ticket here. So for
So
this, I have a rail. What is this rail? This is nothing but your local variable, right? So
yeah.
what I am calling the same thing. So I'm just changing with an object. This dot rail equals to rail. I'm just replacing with an object. That's it. All the things, right? So whenever you are creating an A object, what you are passing here, when you have an int, you are passing int value. But what
Yes.
I have an object here, right? So then
Mm.
what I do, I'll create that object and I'll pass that reference. That's it, right? So I'm going to create that object rail ticket. So some real reference, and
Mm.
what I'm doing, I'm passing that object. So this rail object I'll pass here. So now what happens? It will call this parameterized constructor, and this rail, what it will have? This will have the object reference of this rail ticket, right? And that you are giving the instance variable. So here instead of A, what you have a thread example. So if you see same thing. So here what I am doing, I am creating the rail ticket object. And what I am doing, this is I am creating the thread example object. So whenever I'm creating a thread example constructor, what I'm doing, I'm passing this rail ticket as a reference. So now what it will call? It will call one parameterized rail ticket object. So what this rail will hold here, this is going to hold the rail ticket object address or something else, right? So that
Oh, okay. Give me one moment, please. Here is okay. So basically, here the real is the reference of real of of real ticket object,
yes,
the real, right? And then so for the thread passing the one, you call thread real ticket. You call this object. You call a thread ex constructor. So it comes here thread
yes,
ex constructor. call, and then it's a parameterized constructor. So real ticket, you call this object, and you call this object,
Okay.
and then it will call a run. Okay, so run, and then okay, you use this way. Okay. For me, it's getting better for me. Yes. Okay, I see.
We have not came for run. So we will go step by step only. So as of now, what we have done, so we created this rail ticket object and passed this reference. What happens? It will call this red example. Here, what will have? I'll have that rail ticket object, right? So even it could be better that I can debug it. Instead of explaining it, I can able to debug that. It's more clear for you.
Yeah, for me, this whole program is complicated a little bit. Yes.
Not complicated. You get it. It's will be simple. It's like for the first time when you see, obviously you may have a lot of concepts or something, but once you get clear, it will be easy. So I'm just debugging it as so what I need to do. So it came to this place, right? So what happens? The main method get called, and if I press F6, it will go to the next line. And here, when I do F6, where it has to come, it has to call which method? It has to call this ready exam, right? And if you see, we created rail ticket object. We can prospective.
Okay, so basically rail is a reference of rail ticket object.
Yes.
And then I see. Okay, now okay, I'm getting much better. And then when you call a constructor thread ex, so thread ex, and then it's the object rail ticket, and it goes to the constructor thread ex rail ticket rail. It call that one, and then when it call that one, it will execute the run. It execute the run, right? That's the sequence.
When you call start, it will execute run, right?
Passenger one start. Oh yes, start. Yes. Oh, another question. The start, we don't have the start method, but it's like it's a built-in one, right? For the start.
Sorry.
For the start constructor is a constructor. Oh no, not a constructor. Start is a
method, right? Forgot. Start method is a method which will call present in a thread class, which will call your run method.
In the thread class, yes, in the thread class. Okay, which will call a run method.
Yes. So we'll go with the flow. I'll explain.
Oh, I think I got it. Now I got it. Yeah, okay. The main confusion is for me is the line 35, because I don't understand what like you were doing. But now I think I got the point now. This is like So basically, now you put a rail, you set up a rail as a reference as the rail ticket object, and then
yes,
you handle. And so because of that, you use it in the thread ex constructor, right?
yes,
And
yes.
that's the way. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. For now, I think I got it.
okay. So you can,
Okay.
I can make you more clear. So I think that's what. So for example, I have created a rail ticket object. You can see this is nothing but my rail ticket object.
Mm.
So if I inspect this rail ticket, you can see.
Mm. Yeah, this is the object.
So what is this is nothing but this is nothing but your hash code, right?
Yes,
So
hash code. Yes. Mm.
assume that you have a reference variable which is going to hold your hash code, right? So what I'm doing, I am passing that hash code to what? To this thread exe. So again, you create this is nothing but another thread actually, right? So what it will do, it is going to call that thread example, right? So
Mm.
whenever it is calling, what it has passed that reference, that object, whatever you see, the only one object we have. You can see both names are, it is at the rate 04
Mm. Mm.
so that only the one object that we got here, right? So that object where we are giving, you are giving it to the rail. So if you see before, what is this rail value? This is a reference variable, right? What is this? This is nothing but your null, right? So for this null, what you are giving this object reference.
Mm.
You have string of null value, and if you give Ravi, how the same thing. So
Mm.
what happens? For executing this,
Mm.
now your rail will become
Mm.
this. So now this is a reference variable. You are holding this object. The simple thing, you have some value.
Mm.
So you have a variable, you have a b variable. First, that a is holding that. A is a
Mm.
variable which is holding that value. So what happens? That a,
Mm.
the value which is holding by a variable, you are giving it to the b. Same way. Before you
Mm.
have a rail is nothing but a reference variable which is holding this address, this holding this
Mm.
object.
Mm.
So
Mm.
and it put to the instance variable. Now
Mm.
after executing the statement, you understood why this came with this, right? And
Mm.
now after that, what I'm doing, I am calling a start method. If I press F6, it comes over here. And if
Mm.
I'm calling a start method, so you whenever in a thread, when you call a start method, what happens? It will go to
Mm.
the thread example and it will see whether the start method is there or not. So it is not there. Where it will go to the thread class. In this thread class, what it will do? It will call your run method, right? So in this run method, what we are calling rail ticket, rail dot book ticket. So what is this book ticket? This is nothing but the non-static method. Give me a minute. I think it's getting charging is getting down. Mike, can you hear me?
Yes.
So what is this book ticket? This book ticket is a method that is present in your non rail ticket object.
Mm. Mm.
This is not a non-static method. So
Mm.
to need a non-static method, you need the object reference, right? So we
Mm.
got that object reference from here. The simple. So in run method, you are calling a book ticket method. So in this way, your first thread is calling this book ticket.
Mm. Oh, so yeah. So here the rail is the reference of the object of rail ticket.
Yes.
So then it call the book ticket method and it go to the top and execute.
So who is calling your book ticket method? Your thread, internally thread is calling. So when you call a start method, where it will go to here and the same multi-threading concept. So it will go to that the class start method, and the class start method will call a run method. So it will execute whatever the code that is present in the run method. In this run method, what you are doing, you are calling rail ticket, rail dot book ticket with that object dot book ticket.
Yeah, the rail here is the reference of the object, right? Rail is the reference of rail ticket.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It called, so it's multi-threading, right? It executed the second method also. And the same thing. For example, here what you are passing for the second thread, the same object reference. If you see, this is the same object reference that you passed. So you have one object and passing for the two threads. So this is the second thread. So for the second thread also, you are passing the same object, right? And what happens? You are calling the start method. So obviously, we'll call a run method. So assume that your thread 1 call your run method, thread 1 or thread 2 call your run method. So what it will call? Again, it will call your book ticket method. So this is going to call your book ticket method. So in this book ticket method, you will be having enter the name. So here we are debugging it. That's the reason it is coming in a synchronized manner. So but when you don't debug it, it will not come in a synchronized manner. So multi-threading debugging. It will call run method. This multi-threading, right? So you cannot able to debug it properly. I think you understood the whole concept. Again, it is going to call your book.
Yeah. Now I think I now I understand the whole concept.
So
okay, to use this way. Oh my. Okay.
So if I'm going to, so you need to like little maybe starting you may face some little understanding, but you need to go through and refer it. You understand. So why two times? Because two times two threads are executing simultaneously. And so enter the number of tickets. So for the first ticket, I'm entering 2 tickets, and for the passenger 2, I'm entering the 2 tickets. Now you should come as -2. It will come as -2.
Yeah, and the first thread after the sleep, it will go to execute ticket, like how it will execute the total tickets equals to total tickets minus tickets, right?
Yes.
And the second one come to execute this. That is why we get the -2 value, right? Or -1.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I think now it's like much clearer for me now. Yes, I got the whole like flow.
So as I told you, to avoid this, what I need to do, I need to use a concept called synchronized, right?
Yes. Now, yes. We should go. I got the point. I am much better now. That's why we got at the beginning. I told you, like it's why we got to enter the name twice, but actually it because now it's async. But if you put it to sync, we will get enter only one enter the name, and everything will be fine.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm much better now. I got the flow.
Now this method is synchronized. So at one time only one thread will execute. So
yes, I got it.
Passenger 2 will be in a waiting state, and you will get a problem.
Yeah. Where you put the synchronize? Where you put?
You can see my screen, right?
Yeah. I see. Okay.
For a method, I can write a synchronized keyword. So
that's the only change, right? That's the only change. We just put
the
synchronize, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So if I do this, so if you see, enter that. Now he is executing one by one. So whenever the one thread is executing, the other thread is in waiting state. So enter the number of tickets, entering 2 tickets. So booked tickets are 2. You see, it is going for sleep state. So whenever it is in sleep state, also your second thread has not started executing. So it is still in state, right? So if you see booked tickets and available tickets. So now what happens? It completed, your first thread completed its total execution, right? Of that. So now I'm entering another name called Raj, and some enter the number of tickets. If I enter 2 tickets, what it will show? It will show no tickets are there. So because that minus, you see, don't there is no minus operation, and this is nothing but your execution. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Mike. Even I'll please go through this example again. So before adding two more, I'll just wind up here. So please go through the example this and let me know if any queries.
Okay. We will like basically meet in next week weekend,
Or okay, no,
or like during the week.
or we see if possible we'll make it tomorrow or day after
Okay.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm much clearer now. Like, yeah.
No, goes on
I
both
was,
available.
yeah, actually, I was reviewed and I was stuck,
Ah,
and like wait until today. Yeah.
okay. I think now you
Okay.
should.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Suya. I will also like play around with my side. And okay.
Yes.
Okay. Have a good night. So we nice weekend. We will connect again soon.
My
Bye.
for your nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.